everyone. Thank you for attending on a Saturday and really appreciate all the great questions people are putting in. So continue to do that. The other panelists, as those questions are coming through, will answer it. And I think we have some time for Q&A at the end. I'm going to keep my part of the presentation fairly simple and fairly quick because I think the Q&A portion of these sessions is oftentimes the most important, so we can answer your questions. What I'm going to focus on is how you can support, how you can get involved, what you can do from a practical perspective. I know many of us, especially those who have the privilege of being US citizens, folks who are seeing their families being torn apart, or folks who have neighbors and allies who want to support, sometimes don't know exactly what we need to be doing right now. And so I have four levels of engagement where at any of these levels, I think it'll be a huge value add. Level number one is just staying informed through trusted messengers and sources like NIAC, like CAIR, like IRAP, like CIPC, and other reputable CBOs, community-based organizations. And with that comes additional responsibility of don't spread unverified information, whether that's on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. You might see a video of, oh my God, there's people in the streets. They look like law enforcement. Is it ICE? I'm going to share it everywhere. There are already systems in place through rapid response networks to address those type of things. So if you are involved in those rapid response networks and you can uplift it to the right people, great. But I think if you just share that information without any context of what that is, it might be a DUI checkpoint, right? You're going to cause fear for people, and you don't like in this moment of heightened fear. We don't want to continue to kind of trigger our community members. And we've seen whether it's at local grocery stores, Iranian markets, or at farms, businesses, people just aren't showing up, workers aren't showing up, and we don't want to continue to contribute to that. So at the very low level, level one, stay informed, sign up for NIAC, CARE, IRAP, CIPC's emails. I'll actually share a link of how to get more engaged with CIPC in the chat shortly when I get to level three. Sign up for that Google form. We'll put you on our text list, we'll put you on our email list, and we'll let you know in California what you can do to support. Level two, and Masih mentioned this earlier, donate. Again, donate to NIAC, to CARE, to CIPC, to IRAP, so we can continue to do presentations like these. We're doing them via Zoom, we're doing them in person, we're doing them in Farsi, we're doing them in Arabic, we're doing them in as many ways as possible to get community members the information they need. We're also doing them for health clinics and businesses to really share how they can make sure that their employees, their patients are protected. So that's level two. Now, level three is the one that I'm most interested in because that really means doing work at the local or statewide level. I'm going to kind of highlight a few things that are happening here in California to just get you all a sense of look at the state level, at the city level, at the county level, you can still do something. I know immigration is a federal issue, and oftentimes we're like, well, Congress is terrible, the president's terrible, there's nothing we can do, and we feel helpless. But there are still lots of ways that we can work to protect our communities. At the statewide level right now, there are two bills moving forward. I'm going to use the bill numbers SB 627 and SB 805. SB 805 has a cool name to it. It's called the No Vigilante Act. And both of these bills are really meant to make sure that law enforcement, particularly federal, but also local and state, are not taking advantage of our community members. SB 627 says that officers shall not wear any kind of mask or personal disguise while interacting with the public. There's some exceptions for health and safety reasons, etc., for like operational needs, like SWAT, for example. But really, this is targeting what's happening right now with everyone in law enforcement, especially these federal officials, covering their faces and really kidnapping members of our community off the street. So that's something at the statewide level that a couple of lawmakers are pushing forward. The SB 805 really pairs well with that, the No Vigilante Act, and that's about having some kind of public visible requirement for law enforcement to show that they are law enforcement. You all have already seen all the videos of folks asking for badge numbers, asking for names, and them not being provided. This is another thing that, again, the state is trying to do to make sure that there's some level of accountability and transparency. Additionally, the bill would require notice to local law enforcement every time there's a federal action, which also allows for better health, safety, and notice requirements so that things aren't happening without local officials knowing. So both of those are things at the statewide level, for example, that we've been working on that will really go a long way in protecting our communities. At the local level, at the city level, at the county level, there are also a lot of other things that are happening. I think a lot of folks have heard through the first Trump administration about sanctuary policies. I use the quotes because, like, the reality is there's no policy that will protect you from every and any kind of federal action. So I don't want to mislead folks in thinking that if your city has a sanctuary policy, then you're completely safe and free. But what really these policies do is make sure that local law enforcement is not engaging with ICE, is not supporting ICE. Um, and we're doing a lot to continue to push these types of policies. We were able to pass it in Los Angeles in December, but in localities like Huntington Park more recently, we were actually even passed much more strong sanctuary policies that give citizens the right of action if the city violates the ordinance and essentially does not do what it's saying it will do to protect its community. So that the sanctuary policy one, I'm not going to go into more detail about because I feel like that's the most talked about one. But there are other things like legal defense funds. A lot of cities will have some funding. It could be as low as 50,000 to as high as 1 million, where they can contribute to make sure that organizations like CAIR and others have the legal resources to provide free legal services to community members. It goes back to really the concept of you need to talk to an attorney whenever you're taking any kind of action on immigration right now, because it's not like business as usual. I would have told people, even in business as usual, always talk to an attorney, but now you're at such a high risk of putting yourself, your family in a vulnerable position that you need to make sure that you're talking to an attorney. We know attorneys are expensive. So when we can provide city and state funding to community-based organizations that are trusted, who speak the same languages that we speak, that are from the cultures that we are familiar with, they can provide that legal advice to you for free. And so that's why these legal defense funds at the county and city level have been amazing. Additionally, unfortunately, because of the fear, because a lot of the targeting of family members of those who are single family, single kind of income families are being impacted. Some cities are actually putting some funding out there for impacted families to be able to support with food, with rent. It's not going to be a ton of money, but any little bit can help. And again, counties, cities are going to have more money than individuals are to contribute here. So we've seen some initiatives already happening at the city and county level when it comes to food access, when it comes to rent assistance, or even when it comes to even talking about rent moratoriums, eviction policies to make sure that impacted families are protected. And then lastly, similar to the no masking and identification ordinances happening at the state level, you can do that at the local level. And at the local level, you can always go for even a stronger policy than at the state level. The state kind of sets the bar of like what has to be happening at the minimum. And then the local entity, whether the city or county, can go even beyond that. So if any of that sounds compelling to you, I'm going to share just a Google form here in the chat that our friends at NIAC will share with you all. If you're in California and you want to get engaged and involved with this type of work, fill out that Google form, and we'll be in contact with you to see how we can coordinate. Again, we know that this is a moment that people want to take action, and we want to make sure that we take that energy, get united. What we've seen recently, just because of the complete, completely inhumane ways that this administration is working, it's people coming together like they did in the first Trump administration. I think a lot of us saw those images of people at the airport when the Muslim ban first started, or we've seen how folks responded when families were being torn apart and kids were being put in cages in the first Trump administration. I think just the violence and the sheer lack of accountability with which the administration is working is again bringing folks together. And I think it's our time to build power at the local, at the state level. And then obviously, again, I think Masih mentioned this, you need to get involved civically, whether it's voting in your local elections. And then obviously we have midterms coming up in 2026. In the first Trump administration, we saw that there was a wave of congressional representatives like Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, AOC, and others who came and really were able to slow down this hateful, xenophobic agenda that the Trump administration is pushing. And so, and we've seen hope in what's happening with the mayoral race in New York, right, with Mamdani having those principles. So right now is the time to continue to get engaged if you are a citizen and you can vote. And the last thing I'll say in terms of the fourth level of engagement, I know this will be for a smaller group of folks, but if you're a lawyer and you're stuck at a corporate job and you're thinking like, hey, I want to give back, this is the time to give back. A lot of folks came in to nonprofit work in the post 9/11 world. Then others came in during the first Trump administration. We can definitely use your support. Organizations like the ones on this call can definitely use your support. But if you've done policy work, if you've done communications, if you've done organizing work, again, I would encourage you to look at job openings and see how you can give back more directly. I'll end with again emphasizing how important it is to make sure that if you or a family member is um, facing any kind of immigration issue, make sure to talk to a trusted attorney. If you don't have the funding to do it, if you can't pay a private attorney, that's completely understandable. Most of us honestly don't have that kind of money. That's what the community-based organizations here are. If you see and you Google someone and you see that they're a notary, that's not someone you should be going to get legal advice from. Doesn't matter if they've show you all of the cases that they've been successful for. We've been on the other side where we've seen people being deported and detained because of just a lack of legal knowledge, and that's why you need attorneys. So make sure in the urgency of trying to get yourself and your family member help, you're not going to the wrong people. And that's especially true if you don't have like a pending court case or if you don't have anything that's super time sensitive. I know sometimes when you reach out to community-based organizations, there's a wait list. They might take a couple of weeks to get back to you. If you tell them that it's something urgent, they'll prioritize you. And if you don't have something that's as important or as a higher priority when it comes to time sensitivity, just be a little patient. It'll go a long way in making sure you and your family members are protected. With that, I'll turn it back over to Ethan.